Hello and welcome to the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We're your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway, avid equestrians and recent first-time mums. Join us and a herd of other guests as we discuss the wild ride of parenthood and horse care together. Now it's time to take up the reins and walk on into our next episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. Today, Sophie and I are chatting to another guest, and I think it's going to be a guest that everyone's going to find quite useful, guys. So today we are speaking to the absolutely wonderful, gorgeous, lovely Charlotte Watson. Charlotte, say hello.
Hi.
So, Charlotte, you are a financial planner, aren't you? So would you like to give yourself a little bit of an introduction for our listeners? Where do you live? How many children do you have? And how are you horsey?
I think we'll start with the horses, obviously. That's how it all works. I've got two horses. I've got an Irish sport horse and a Dutch Warbler, because that's what everyone wants to know first. Second thing, I have a child who is 4. Harry's 4, going to school in September. Can't wait because childcare is extortionate. So I'm very excited about that. I live over in the Norfolk, Cambridgeshire borders. But I was born in Newmarket. My dad's a jockey, so I'm 5'2". And I actually spent 25 years then in Leicestershire and then moved over here to the Fens because you can get house and stables over here for much better value than in Leicestershire. And now onto the business, because that's the most exciting stuff. People want to hear about the horses first. So I'm a financial advisor, and don't let anyone who's listening now immediately go, turn it off. I don't want to talk to her. So financial advice is not meant to be as scary as we all think. I'm not an old man in a pinstripe suit. No offense to any men.
I can confirm that. We can see you. You're not an old man.
Sparkly unicorn jumper. So yes, I am not an old man in a pinstripe suit, but I rarely wear suits. And my absolute passion is helping businesses and women in particular, even better if they're working mums, to understand and take control of their finances in a non-weird, spammy, scary way. So in that, I help people with things like pension planning, investment planning, life cover, income protection, inheritance tax planning for your parents to make sure the maximum amount goes to you and not the government. And I started using like a bit of a catchphrase of the pensions princess. Just again, break down those barriers that I am not a scary person. I would much rather wear a tiara than a suit.
Oh, that has got to be the best introduction we've had on the podcast so far. Do you think, Sophie?
Wait, do you know what? Honestly, Charlotte, this podcast could not come at a better time, because it's the end of the month, and I'm just looking at all of my outgoings today, having like a miniature meltdown. Not like the meltdowns that Katie's used to on a weekly occurrence, but like a little bit of a meltdown, thinking, oh my goodness, like our outgoings are definitely over our incomings at the moment, and it's really scary. And a lot of people are in that position, especially when you've got a kid and they're young. There's just so much we could literally talk. I could talk to you and moan at you actually about the current state of affairs in my life and the general government for the next year. But let's try and get down and drill into some business, and maybe we can use me as a bit of a case study as well.
And one of the things that I actually was talking to somebody about this yesterday, who said, why is there not a booklet for parents of things we need to remember to do once we've had kids? And this includes things like child benefit. So can we start with that? Can I jump in? I haven't asked me a question yet, but let's just start with that, because, we're all mums. And if you've got any new mums listening to this, these are things they need to know. So child benefit. Child benefit is something, it's like a weekly amount. It's a small amount, but money is money. It's at least 1 or 2 bottles of wine. And that's how we measure things when we're mums, right? So child benefit is something you can claim once you've had a child. Now, where you need to be careful with child benefit is that if either you or your partner is earning more than 50,000, there can be tax implications with that. So it basically becomes tax. And as soon as one of you is earning over 60,000, basically the tax is equivalent to the payment that you're getting. But this doesn't mean you shouldn't claim it, because you can claim it and say no to receiving the money, so there's no tax implications. But then as a mum, if you do not return to work, you will get national insurance credits towards your state pension. Now,
This
this mouth
is
open,
genius.
yes, because
Genius.
if you have, and I have had clients come to me and said, oh, but I took 8 years out because I had 3 children and childcare was so expensive I couldn't go back to work, so I'm never going to get state pension. I need to buy some more back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And I just went, whoa, stop. Go now on your state pension forecast, and this is particularly for people who know children are all grown up now. Go on your state pension forecast. If you were claiming child benefit back in the day, you will not have gaps there because you've got national insurance credits that are going in. Now, this is even more important for mums who are listening, who are career women, and I take my tiara off to you if you are, because if your husband is the one who is doing the majority of the childcare, because it's a modern world and that's happening now, he should be the one that is claiming that child benefit, even if he's not taking the money from it, and he will then have the gaps filled in. The main caregiver can have the gaps filled in on their national insurance for that period of time when your children are small. I think it's up until, I can't remember if it's 14 or 16 or 18. I'm not an accountant, financial advisor, but it's something to Google. But that's really, really important. And that's like, you can claim that as soon as you've got, you know, when you register them, you get that number on the bottom of the birth certificate. That's the number you need to then register for child benefit. So number one.
You've blown my mind, like in a really good way, because I was actually just speaking to my husband about this last night, because I was mentioning that we had this podcast and we were speaking to you, and I was saying, I don't even know where to start. I know that there are all of these things in place, but I've never, because I didn't plan to have a child, and I just actually had one accidentally. I didn't really have huge amount of time to research anything that I could potentially claim or not claim. So when I was doing a bit of Googling around the subject, and all these things came up, and I thought, I have no idea where to start. Not a clue where to start. So if you have had a baby, start there. Start there, perhaps.
Yeah, start with the child benefit side of things. And it's certainly, you know, if you've got an accountant, and again, anyone who's listening who's self-employed, don't try and do your own tax return. Get an accountant to do it for you. I am a financial advisor, fully qualified, good at numbers. I am not phoning HMRC myself. Thank you very much. Don't want to sit and hold. Don't want to have to deal with them. My accountant does it all for me. Genius. And she saves me more than it costs me to pay her to do it all for me. And she's a total legend, and horsey, and a mum. So another useful person for you all.
We should put her in the show notes.
We'll put her in. Tracy from Coco Accounting. She's a legend. She's got a horse on her logo, so just like I have, because that's important. So that's the first point. So child benefit is your first one to look at. Second one, childcare costs. Anyone who is about to have a baby or has had one and is looking at childcare, there is no easy way for me to say that it is astronomical. It is more than having a horse on full livery, which is
100%.
So on that note, Charlotte, this was going to be my next question. Can I ask you, you may be able to shed some light on this, you may not, but it blows my mind, that maternity leave is 12 months in the UK. For a lot of that, you don't actually get paid. And for some, you know, if you're on statutory, it depends who you work for, but if you're on statutory maternity leave, for the majority of it, it's only like £600 a month or whatever it is. And then you go back to work after 12 months or however long you can afford to take, and you don't get any help with childcare from the government for the first until they're 2. How does that make sense? I cannot compute that.
I am going to join you in this moan, because the trouble is, so this is where I caveat all of this. So you can follow people like Pregnant Then Screwed, who will give you the top stuff from the government. Don't trick your algorithm into looking at that too much, because you will end up in a puddle of doom, because there is no nice way around this, and it will just make you feel miserable. So first thing is tax-free childcare. So you can have tax-free childcare, which is basically if you put £8 into the government account, they top it up by £2. But this only works if either you or your husband are earning under 100,000. The minute either of you is earning more than that, you do not get tax-free childcare. The same with the new 2-year-old hours, which is going to be 9 months as of September. If either one of you are earning over 100,000, you also do not get those free hours. And when they're 3, you could be entitled to 30 free hours, But if either one of you is earning over 100,000, it's just 15. So everybody gets 15 hours age 3. So that's the shining light. And if you're going to plan your pregnancies, which is something that is impossible, obviously, then you'd want to make sure that your child is probably born like late August, because then as of September, you get 3 hours, and then they go to school quicker. My child is September, so he's had an extra year at nursery, an extra year of childcare costs to deal with. But, you can't plan these things. He was 4 weeks early anyway, so, pushing it.
Also, Charlotte, on that note, don't you, a lot of people try and plan to have them in September so that they're at the head of the year?
Yeah, because they're thinking about their child having the best start in life and not their pocket, which, I mean, how do you even balance that out? So yeah, ideally people would like their child to be the oldest in the year because they will have a head start academically, but you've got an extra year of childcare, which, for mine, I'm in Norfolk, so our prices are not like London prices. Ours are, I think, £57 a day, childcare costs, and I get 15 free hours. So my nursery bill is about £500, £600 a month. When I wasn't getting free hours, it was about £1,200 a month. So you know what I was saying about, livery, it's probably like racehorse livery sort of price. Sorry, this is not helping Katie's brain, is it? With this?
No, this is not helping me at all, because I live in Wiltshire, and we're looking at a solid £80 a day situation for nursery.
Yeah, Katie, mine is £95 a day.
I mean, you can come and join me in the fens. It's great over here. Do you know how much a bale of straw is? I'm not even going to tell you.
Can I rent a stable, Charlotte? I can live in one of your stables. All of us.
You'd be like Mary and the donkey. You're going to come and live in a stable. There's no room in the inn for a cheap childcare cost. Yes, so the tax-free childcare is definitely something to look into. Now, if you or your husband is only just over the 100,000, so say earning 105,000, get a financial advisor, because if you put £5,000 into a pension, you drop below the 100,000, then you get the tax-free childcare and the free hours. And when you add that up, how much that is going to be worth each year is definitely worth the 5,000 pension contribution, which is building towards your future anyway. So that is top tip.
Is there a cap to that suggestion, Charlotte? So say, for example, someone that is listening, their partner or them, they're earning 120,000, say. What's the point where you just think, actually, that's not going to be worth it?
So that will be based on what your current spend is looking like, your household spend. Because if their take home is just about matching what you're spending, then all of a sudden, if they whack a great big cut of their earnings into a pension, it might leave you with shortfall in terms of paying the bills, and the bills are going to be more important. And it's also worth adding up, actually, how much are those free hours worth, and the tax-free childcare. So say it's worth in a year £6,000, and they're earning 105,000, then it makes sense to put the £5,000 in, because there's £6,000 extra spend per month because of childcare. If it's 110 and you're only going to be saving £6,000, is it worth it based on and that's where you need your current situation, and that's where you do need bespoke financial advice to actually look through the different scenarios. Now, obviously, you've got 2 children, then that's going to, and they're close together, because some people have 2. My sister's got 2 under 2. Bless her. I have one who is 4, but 2 under 2 is quite common and is really, really hard. That's where actually those additional childcare hours are going to be worth double if you're under that boundary. But that is where, you are going to need very bespoke advice to actually look at the different what ifs to make sure you get that right.
Charlotte, can I ask you a question just while we're on this subject? Because I think this is something that people listening will really want to know, and it's something that I really want to know. I know you said earlier about you've got your own accountant that deals with that kind of stuff for you, and she saves you more money than you spend on her. How much does it cost to hire you?
You personally.
So in terms of me personally, so my charges are slightly different. So I don't charge per meeting or per minute. I'm not Uber, and I talk a lot. So if I did charge per minute, people would be like, hang on a minute, how much is this costing me? She won't shut up. So I don't charge per minute. Talk faster. And I do talk fast. There's a lot of words that come out in a short space of time, but I don't charge per minute or per meeting. How it works with me and my process is I meet clients for a phone call or a Teams chat, And I call it a coffee chat because years ago we'd like meet in the coffee house and we'd have a coffee and chat about and make sure they actually do need me and not an accountant or not somebody else. And also check that we get on, because if I'm taking on a client, I'm going to be seeing you for the next 25 years and I don't want to be dreading that meeting. So it needs to be that we get on. And then we talk about the process going forward and the cost. Second meeting is the financial MOT. So this is actually where we pick through absolutely everything. I do like to have both halves of the couple there, because we're looking at household and future plans and retirement plans and current spending. And if there's just one of you, it's actually really difficult. Having both of you in there, I will be asking questions that you've not asked each other. And I will leave you with questions that you will go and you'll have supper for the next few nights with each other when you're not exhausted from children. You'll be like, you said about on your bucket list that you really wanted to go to wherever it was. I can see the Northern Lights and sleep in an igloo. I never knew that. I really want to do that. When can we plan that in? And it's really cool, because when we are parents, we are so busy and so tired that actually supper times can often be like, how many nappies did you change today? How many times did you get vomited on? Oh, you've been at work, have you? Lucky you. I've spent all day lucky you. I'm exhausted because I've spent all day carrying your child around for you. So sometimes we can end up with, those very short conversations where we get, like last night, my poor husband, I was like, look, I'll be honest, I'm tired. I'm a little bit stressed and a little bit overwhelmed. I've got to do some work before tomorrow morning. Haven't yet finished off the horses, and you are listening to reels really loudly, and it's just starting to annoy me. And he was like, you could have just said, just turn it down. I was like, I know, but marriage. And he was like, shall I go and start doing the horses? And I was like, oh, yes. And he was like, do you need wine, food, or a hug at this point? I don't really know which one it is.
This is hilarious because I feel like you actually could have been a fly on the wall in our house yesterday. Yes, we also had that exact same conversation of how dare you sit relaxed with your feet up in front of the fire watching endless reels on your phone while I've still got horses to do. Out you get.
Yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. So it really leads to conversations. Anyway, I still haven't said how much it costs, which is the original question, because we then went off on other fun things, like being a good wife, very calm. So and then if during that financial MOT there are things that I pick out, that things you need to do. For example, say you've got like old pensions from previous jobs dotted around. So there's like 4 of them dotted around. You've got life cover, but it doesn't match the mortgage. You haven't got income protection, so if you get sick, there is no plan B. There is no other plans in place. You haven't got the right life cover that I would want you to have for the survivor to be able to cope with parenting long term without having to marry the au pair, because that's another thing I'm concerned about my husband. So I've got big insurance policies to mean he doesn't marry the au pair just because I've disappeared. He can carry on paying her, it's fine. Or a nanny, maybe that's the best way to do it. So at that point, that's when costs come in. So if it's an investment, then it comes out of initial advice out at the top of the investment. If it's an insurance policy, then remuneration actually comes from the insurer. And so that's how it works. So if it is something like we just talked about with the childcare, and do you need to put in additional pension contributions to get you below the line, unless you actually go ahead with that pension. If I say, I don't think you should do it based on your current spending, then I haven't actually done anything. We've just done generic talking, and there's no cost to pay at that point. There's only a cost if we actually go forward to business. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's really, really useful. I know that people are going to think this because I kind of think this, but I think financial planners are associated with rich people.
Yeah, they are.
Do you have to be rich to have a financial planner?
In fact, so that's why I'm not Charlotte Watson Wealth Management, because that would mean that people would have this, and I already have massive issues of barriers of people thinking, I can't come to you, I haven't got any money, I'm in my overdraft, I am spending more than I'm earning at the moment, we're struggling, we've got credit cards, how can I go and see a financial planner? And yes, you are the person I need to see, because if you are struggling at the moment, sometimes just by sitting down with someone and actually working through, well, what exactly are you spending each month? What is your earnings? I've got the snazziest cash flow forecasting, very expensive software that I show my clients that actually will show you what your earnings are after tax, what your spending is, and what the surplus is. And there's always surplus. But then we've got to hunt down, where is that surplus going? Horses. But, where is that surplus going? And then we can start to actually work out if each year there is a surplus of 10 grand, which I have seen more than once, What about if each month you put £200 just into a savings account? Because that's spent then, and if you've spent it and it's gone out of your account, then when you get to the weekend and you're knackered and you're like, Dominoes, that's fine, because you know what is sitting in your account and what you can spend. And it just gives you a bit more control of your spending and a bit more oversight of actually what you're spending. So that's the first point. The second point is the what ifs. Like I already said, the mortgage cover. So I pulled up some quotes. So you two both got horses. Are they both insured?
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to?
No, Oscar is an ex-racehorse, and I don't think there's one insurance company in the country that would insure his tail, let alone his legs.
Okay, well, Katie, can I use your horse as an example then? Do you mind sharing what your insurance is per month on your horse?
Oh, I've just got a standard NFU mutual policy, so I think it's something like 124 quid a month or something like that, which BT Dubs NFU is probably going to be paying me back within the next few weeks. So
Okay, use that monthly amount as an example. So your horse is insured for £124 a month. Lots of people have got their horses insured, but not their own lives against the mortgage. So if we take a mortgage of 200,000, pretty average mortgage, and say it's a mortgage that's running for the next 25 years on a 35-year-old woman, that would cost £10.15 per month. And that would pay out £200,000 if something you died or you had terminal illness. £10 a month.
Leo's really not that valuable.
No, this is the issue. But he's more likely to get injured than you're likely to die. But those sorts of, like that £10 a month, that's like 1.5 bottles of wine. But that is then covering your life. So if something happens to you or your partner, then the survivor and your child can remain in the family home. So that's 10 quid a month, cheaper than horse insurance. The illness cover is another one. And again, people are terrified of coming to a financial advisor because they're like, oh, I can't afford to pay for a monthly premium. So sickness cover. If you're employed, people often my self-employed clients are much easier to talk to about sick pay cover because they're like, I've got nothing. If I'm not working, I'm sick. There is no pay. But my employed people are like, oh no, but I work. So I've got sick pay cover. Right, okay. What is your sick pay cover? Oh, I get 4 weeks. Like, great, that's really good. If it's cold, that's great. But okay, now let's talk, and sorry to talk about something horrible, but unfortunately all of us have known someone. What if you get cancer and you end up off work fighting cancer for 2 or 3 years? What happens then? Oh, my boss will probably carry on paying me. Will he? For 3 years? Okay. What if he doesn't? What can we put in place? And a sickness insurance or an income protection insurance policy that will pay out after your sick pay from work, so say 4 weeks, or 3 months or 6 months if it's a really, some bosses are really nice, that will pay until retirement. So if you can never return to work, it will continue to pay. And as an example, you can only cover about 65% of your earnings. So as an example, say you are claiming for £1,500 per month, which covers your main bills, and you are willing to wait for 3 months to use emergency funds in between times, again, based on a 35-year-old woman, me, that would be £27 a month. So again, your death and your sickness pay is now coming in at £37.15 a month. Still quite far below your horse insurance, although your horse insurance is more likely to be claimed on. I do understand that. So it isn't something that is absolutely totally unaffordable for people. It's just that no one dares contact a financial advisor because, and again, this is something I hear all the time from clients. And one of my best friends from uni, she said to me, I was going to go and see a financial advisor, but they gave me a questionnaire, which I do as well. And on that questionnaire, it asked about my savings. And I didn't want to tell him that I had £10,000 stashed for my new kitchen because I thought he'd make me invest it. And I was like, hang on a minute, this is not Mary Poppins. If you want to feed the birds, go feed the birds. I'm not going to make you put it in a bank. New kitchen, new horse box, Devico dressage saddle, all here for it. But if there's excess above the short-term goals or the medium-term goals, then we can do something more efficient with it. And I think that's the big issue that people have got. They just assume that someone like me is going to make them invest money that they don't want to invest.
On that note, and I'm sorry, Katie, I've just got too many questions here, and I can't. My brain is.
I know. I'm just.
My brain is going at.
Oh, my brain is whirring.
My brain is going at 900 miles an hour, but essentially, I've got like a small amount of inheritance and savings, but it is because I was on mat leave last year, because my partner works in racing, he doesn't earn loads of money, self-employed, blah, blah, blah. I can only really get a very small mortgage at the moment. And so I would love, and this is something that we should take off a podcast, and I do need to speak to you about on a personal level anyway. But have you got any top tips for people that might have some savings and where to invest them and what to do with them? Like,
Yeah, definitely. So, first thing I would always say whenever anyone comes to me, particularly if it's an inheritance, because an inheritance has got a different emotional feel to if you. So, again, one of the questions I ask my clients, I'll always ask them about bucket list stuff, and they tend to think of a couple of things, but not much. And then I will say to my clients, and this is all of you listeners listening to this, and both of you too, think about this. Ask your husbands tonight. Say you win 200,000 on the lottery tonight. What are you going to spend it on? And when people answer that, that immediately pulls out their top priorities. So if you are thinking immediately, I put down a deposit on a house, that is your number one priority right now. If you tell me, I want to go to the Northern Lights, I want to take my kids to Disneyland, and then I want to pay off a chunk of my mortgage, your mortgage is not your biggest concern. Your biggest concern is the fun things that you really want to do. So let's do them. And when you take, it's like and I'm not into money mindset because I'm not qualified to talk about that. All I am is a mum and a person who thinks that as British people, we've got this real bee in our bonnet because our parents have hammered us for years and years and years about we must save, we must save, we must save. For what? If we have got an emergency fund for the rainy day sorted, great. If we've got all the insurances we could possibly have for ourselves, the roof, the boiler, utility warehouse will sort out your boiler cover and all that sort of stuff. What is the other emergencies that could happen? Car could blow up. So let's have a pot of money for that. That's important. The rest of the money, we're going to have some fun things we want to do. And then if there's excess, then we can do sensible things like savings. So if we're looking at savings, we've got to look at what are we saving towards. If you are saving towards something big like a house, a child getting married, school fees is another big one that people want to start saving towards. That's a long-term plan. It's like 5 years, then great. We can do some long-term planning. We first of all think about things like ISAs. So a stocks and shares ISA, where you're putting some money away. It's tax efficient. It grows free of capital gains tax. And when you draw down on it, free of income tax. So an ISA is really tax efficient. What if you're saying to me, well, I want to buy a horse box next year? I wouldn't want you to put into a stocks and shares ISA because that's a very short time. And if the markets drop, then your money's going to go down. If it's 5 years, you've got time to ride the waves. And we all know about riding the waves because the last 12 months have been disastrous, according to BBC. According to my clients' investments, the last probably 4 months have been absolutely amazing. But BBC won't tell you that, will they? I've got clients. I saw a client last week and told him that his growth on his pension was 10.8% in the last year because the last 5 months has been amazing. BBC News not telling us that. It's very negative, isn't it? So just watch the news. So yeah, so I'd say ISAs are brilliant if you're looking at 5 years or more. If you're looking shorter term, so I want to buy a horse box next year, then you might want to think about at the moment there's some good savings accounts with good levels of interest. Watch them because some of them will lock you in for at least a year and we don't know what's going to happen in the next year. Locking in is a bit scary unless you've got an emergency fund set aside for those emergencies. The other thing to watch is if it's a savings account that is not in an ISA wrapper and you earn too much interest, some of that interest will be taxable on you. And if you are a basic rate taxpayer, you've got £1,000 tax free. If you're a higher rate taxpayer, it's only £500. It's not very much if it's doing quite well. So we need to be careful with that. So another area you might want to look into is premium bonds. And premium bonds might be the thing that our granny got us. I've got 50 quid that my granny gave me at my christening. It's already paid for itself because it's already won itself 50 quid. But if you've got a pot of money that you are wanting to use in a year's time, so horse box is a really good example of this. So you might want to put it in premium bonds because each month you might win £1 million. Highly unlikely, but you might, or you might win £25 or 50 quid, but it's tax free. So if you win it, it's tax free. You can only put £50 in it. That's the maximum that you can put in. But for kids, so our young children, if you don't want to necessarily have a bank account for them, you could have a premium bonds account. And then when godparents are asking what they'd like, you can put some money in there for them. So that's something else to think about.
I used all of my premium bonds, get this guys, on driving and cars. How exciting was that at whatever age I was? And I kind of wish that I'd left it all stashed in there.
Yeah, but then at the time, I bet you were like, everyone else is struggling for driving lessons. I've got this pot of money that I'm spending on my driving lessons to then give me that freedom. Think about the end goal and the emotions that are attached with the first time you put a fluffy steering wheel cover on your brand new car after you passed your test.
Oh, I didn't. I'm not a fluffy steering wheel person, Charlotte.
No one is, because they're dangerous, because you turn the wheel and the whole lot turns with you. It's very dangerous. Do not recommend fluffy steering wheel covers. One of my best friends had one. She's also horsey, and actually, God, I'm going to message her about this to tell her. And we went to collect a curry, and on the way home, she turned the wrong way down a dual carriageway, which was terrifying, and then went to turn the steering wheel, and the steering wheel cover changed, and she didn't. And she was driving. This will a bit of a throwback. A Clio Billabong.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those? They were like, yeah, that's showing my age, isn't it? Millennial. But yeah, she had a Billabong Clio black. It was beautiful. It was the coolest car ever. And there was curry. It just stank of curry because it all slopped around the back, and she was screaming and I was screaming, and it was just like a female version of the In-Betweeners. So there we go.
I know somebody that did that in a horse box. They went the wrong way down. They almost got to the motor. I was in the car and I was like screaming, like hanging onto the sides with two great big horses on the back. And I was like,
I think that's probably worse than the stopping curry.
I was on my phone as she was turning. So I didn't see until we were just heading the wrong way towards the motor. I was absolutely terrifying. Anyway.
I didn't realise stuff like this happened.
Yeah, it was horrific. Charlotte, just to take a step away from the financials for a second, because I'm getting heart palpitations. What are your plans with your horses this year?
Well, wait for the mud to dry up would be lovely. So I'm really lucky with my two. So a bit of a backstory. So the Irish Sport horse is a grey mare called Marilyn Monroe. And I've had her for 20 years in this May. So she was my pony club horse. I had her in Leicestershire, hunted the backside off her. I had some of the best days of my, when you have if you're in the dentist or the doctors and you're trying to think of something else, like anything else to block out bad things happening, like the dentist. I hate the dentist. I am always in one particular field in Leicestershire on this horse, flying towards a row of hedges. And she is, honestly, she's amazing. And I've still got her. And she has been incredible for her whole life. And now she is in her 20s. She's got Cushing, so she's on Present. And that is like pony crack, if I'm honest. She is off her head. I don't know if you saw the latest video I put on my business page about, do you ever feel like you're out of control with your pensions? And I put the Pulp Fiction music on it because she got loose. I was taking the other horse hunting. She got loose.
Oh, I think I did see that. Yeah.
Yes. That's my very lovely, very quiet old 24-year-old horse who, and then she just passaged all the way back up. So yeah, so I still ride her a bit, but not so much. The other horse, the Dutch horse, is 17 Hands. She's actually my husband's ex-army horse. So she did 13 years in London with the King's Troop. She retired for bad behaviour. Because she didn't like bus stops, and unfortunately one year the Queen was sitting in one of those boxes that looked like a bus stop, and she was that side, and she wiped out the chargers next to her, reversed back, and wiped out the guns as well. We were watching live because my husband had already retired from the army by then, and we were like, yeah, Fennel's going home, there's no way she's going to recover from this. And yes, Julie Fennel was on the casting list, which is what they call it in the army, and has been with us now for 3 years. So she is 20. Is she 20 or 22? I can't remember. But she is a spooky Dutch horse. There's no bus stops around here and no Queens, so we're doing better. And I do a bit of side saddle and a bit of showing and a bit of dressage on her. And I love it. One of my business targets this year is, if I hit a certain business target I've set myself, I'm going to buy myself my own side saddle so I can do it all the time, because it is so addictive.
Wow, that is incredible.
I've never even tried.
Oh my gosh. The first time I tried, I used my lovely old grey horse thinking, I'll try on her before I got on the very big moving Dutch horse. And you know how they say you can't fall off side saddle?
Yeah.
Yeah, she bucked me off, and I rotated. My legs went up in the air and all the way over on the other side. It was just before Christmas. Husband was filming, made it onto Shite Eventers Unite, the original page. Made it in, because you see me flying and you hear this thud and sort of scud as I bounce on the floor, and then you hear my husband go, shit. Because all he could think is, oh God, I'm going to have to cook Christmas dinner for like 16 people because my wife has just stacked it off the horse side saddle. So yeah, I'm not painting a good picture of Marilyn. She honestly is the loveliest horse ever, but I gave her a couple of beauty breakfasts before the side saddle. I think it was just all too exciting. A cocktail of drugs with the presend as well. So Marilyn hasn't been used since then for side saddle lessons, and I used the silly Dutch horse instead.
Amazing.
Again, this is all footage that is on my business page that I somehow have like shoehorned some finances into it. Ever feel out of control with your finances? Ever feel bucked off with your finances?
I love this. So, you obviously have been a horsey girl forever and a day, right? Your dad's a jockey. One would assume your mum's horsey as well. How on earth have you gone from horsing to financial planning? Tell us the journey.
I'll tell you. So I did equine. I'm a Hartbury girl. I did equine science at Hartbury. Epic. It was a lot of fun. I learned an awful lot, some of it about horses. And it was the best thing ever. I absolutely loved my degree. I was talking to someone about it this morning. So when I spoke to my careers advisor and said, I'm going to do equine science as my degree, they said, no, you're not. It only needs CDD. And you're going to be overqualified. You're not doing some Mickey Mouse degree. And if you want to do that, we're not supporting you. And so I was like, bugger you then, I'm going to do it anyway, and absolutely loved it. And I came out of that and then became a secondary science teacher and did my PGCE, and from that became an equine science lecturer for 10 years. So I then spent 10 years chopping up dead horses, if you like, because the science was the main thing. And now I dissect pensions, which has similar sort of skills within it, because it is a case of pulling something apart and being able to explain it to someone in a way that they understand and they can engage with. So there are so many things from teaching that are so important, and I use all the time in financial advice. And I think the big pull for me is that helping people. And that's what I had with my students, the trusted relationship of them doing 3 years of a degree with me, leaving, adding me on LinkedIn, and then in 5 years' time being like, Charlotte, I'm thinking of changing jobs. What do you think about this, this, and this? And I loved that, that I'd had such an impact on them for the 3 years in their degree that they still wanted my help later in life. Now some of my students are having babies, which is even better. So that's really fun to then see them coming back and becoming mums themselves. But yeah, that passion of the long-term trust is really, really important. This is not transactional. I don't want to do business with people who come to me and say, sort me out a life cover, buy. That's not for me. I want to help people, as I said, for the next 25 years. And horsey people in particular, because there aren't many. Only 16% of advisors are female, and even fewer are horsey and working mums at the same time. So that's a bit of a niche, if you like.
I think that's a really, really good point, in that there are not many financial planners and advisors and finance managers or accountants as well that actually have that would understand anything that we do. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, Oscar has just he got kicked in the field. He's broken his pelvis and he's on box rest now for 4 months. And actually, the bill wasn't too bad. It was £500 vet bill, because there's nothing they can do anyway. There's no real treatment for it. It's box rest essentially. But at any point, you could end up with a 10 grand vet bill, and every single month without fail, because he's in, my straw and hay bill has gone through the roof. And nobody else gets that. Not one other person.
It's not even just that, but if we take it back to if you're off work sick, so say you're off work sick, livery bill still needs to be paid for, hay bill still needs to be paid for. If you're really sick, you're going to need some extra help with mucking out. You can't make it out there, so your costs go up. If you've got no plan in place for you being off work sick to deal with those additional costs that could come in, what do? You can take the shoes off the horse. So yeah, it's not going to cost you £95 every 6 weeks, but the horse is still going to eat. And there's no point people saying to me, yeah, but if I was in the situation, I'd sell the horse. What if no one wants to buy your horse? What if your horse is lame at the point you get sick? Then you can't sell it. Also, £500. I paid £1,200 for a virus before Christmas. I need to start coming to your vets.
Well, Katie and I, between us, I don't think we could pay somebody to take on our horses.
Yeah. As I say, any of you, bless them, are getting a phone call in the next day or so, and I'm a bit scared.
One of the things I have forgotten to talk about, if we wind this back a bit to the beginning bit about, what you first become pregnant and then, where's the book of what you need to do with finances. Just some reassurance for people going on maternity leave if you're employed with your pension contributions. Your pension contributions, when you are off, your employer pays in as if you are being paid full whack, even if you're off for the full year and you're only getting paid statutory. That's worth knowing. So if you're thinking of not returning to work, you might want to plan it carefully, because if you tell them after 6 months of not coming back to work, you might miss out on 6 months worth of maternity of your pension contributions. So it's worth checking the small print on your pension schemes and your contracts.
Oh,
Good,
I
isn't it?
love you. Like, literally love.
I'm in love with you, but even though you've given me the worst anxiety ever, I now know. I now know that I need to talk to you separately, not on a podcast.
Can we go back to talking about horses? That made you calmer for a minute, didn't it?
No, I think honestly, this has been one of the most thought-provoking chats we've had with people so far, because money is so emotive, isn't it? And talking about people's futures is really tough, because like you say, sometimes you don't even have that sort of chat with your partner. Sometimes you don't even know what you want yourself, and then you have a family and maybe you're not even in that headspace, and then you've suddenly got this added responsibility of, I have a small person that I now have to take care of, and it would be good if I didn't die / become really ill / lose my job / I could provide for them. That would be great. So I think,
well, I think one of the things that I think we can set people up something to take, some homework that they don't need a financial advisor for, because I'm going to tell them what to do. If you're happy for me to spend the time doing that. Yes.
I think that'd be
okay,
useful.
Good. And maybe I'll produce some sort of worksheet or something that you can give to people as well, because I think that'd be quite helpful. So the first thing is, because we always look at priorities, worst thing that can happen to us is we die. That is the worst. So everybody who is listening to this, go and have a look at your mortgage paperwork, and I want you to check that it matches the mortgage in terms of the amount and the term of it. Because if the term on your life cover is 25 years and your mortgage is 35, what do you do for that 10 years of shortfall? And if the mortgage is 250,000 and your life cover is 150,000, and say you die, is your husband going to be able to pay off 150,000 and then take out another mortgage for the extra 100,000 or not? And if he can't, then what does he do? It's to sell the house. You don't want your kids to leave the house. So check your life cover. And also, if you're the one that set it up with an advisor, make sure your husband knows where the paperwork is, or if something happens to both of you in the very worst situation, where's your will? Who knows about your will, and who knows about where your life cover? If you haven't got a will, then get one. But who else knows about where your life cover is? Because if me and my husband die, I want someone to claim on all of those policies for my child, all of them. So I have a document set up which has got all of the numbers and the phone numbers on it, and the policy number and what it's worth. So that's life. The next thing to have a look at is, if you're employed, go and have a look at your sick pay cover. Because if you get sick, you are going to be in a flat. And I'm not just talking about cold. I'm talking about properly ill. Like even a broken arm, realistically, you can carry on working with a broken arm. You just, Siri has to do all the typing for you, doesn't she? It's fine. So, but if it's really ill, you are going to be basically grieving if you get really ill, because of the stress and the panic. And you've already said about the anxiety I've given you just by talking today. I'm sorry, that's not the intention. But go and have a look at your sick pay policy. And if you're self-employed, there is no sick pay policy. So you need to know what that is. Now, again, talk to your partner. If you've got a decent sick pay policy at work that covers 6 months, what if you're in a coma? You can't say to your husband, oh, by the way, in that HR document, there's a policy there about sick pay. You're not going to be able to say anything because you're in a coma. So he needs to know where it is, or at least have a contact of someone at work who knows where that is. So that's your sort of sick. So your next one is, what if you get sick? What if you live too long is a good one. So this is your retirement plans. Now, obviously, the sick and the death is the most important thing. Next thing is, what if you live too long? What if you run out of retirement funds? Or what if, again, you die? Does your husband know where your pension is? Because again, that's free money that's coming his way that you've worked hard to earn. You need to know where it is. So you need the provider and the policy number. And if they're scattered around, you might want to pull them together to make your life easier when it comes to retire. And so you've got them all in one place. And again, with your pensions, go online to wherever your provider is and make sure the beneficiaries are in there. Pensions do not follow the will. So you die and you've got a will and you haven't put your beneficiaries down, it's going to take ages for those pension funds to go through probate, decide who to give them to. So beneficiaries, really important. So yeah, that's if you live too long. And then the last one is, what if you die too rich? That's where we want to be. Really important to die as rich.
Unlikely in my case, because I keep spending it.
Well, I was saying earlier, feed the birds. I mean, I'm contradicting myself now, aren't I? Feed the birds, but also, so feed the birds is going to be more important than is going to be an important thing to do as long as you don't live too long and run out of money. But dying too rich leads us to inheritance tax, and that is expensive. So 40% over the nil rate bands goes to the government. I'm not really up for that. So what can we plan ahead to make sure we can maximise what we leave to the people we want to leave it to? So yeah.
Oh my word.
I think I've really set poor Sophie's brain into like massive overdrive. I'm so sorry, Sophie. But the will, that is important. Do the will.
All I just said was, oh my God, I've got so much to do.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lot of admin, doesn't it, really? And it is, but you would hope.
This is where Charlotte Watson comes in.
Yeah, you would also hope, though, that this is stuff that's going to set you up. This is stuff that actually really is important and it does matter. And it's not just faffing around with the gas bill or like sorting your water meter out or whatever it happens to be. This is stuff that really impacts you and your partner if you have one and your kids. So
yeah, I mean,
and what about the what ifs for horses? How many of us have got a piece of paper somewhere that says who the vet, who the farrier, and who the dentist is? Stick it on the yard. You do. Do you have the same stuff for yourself or your child? There we go. Who do we love more?
Do you know what as well? A lot of this does resonate with me because my mum died of cancer when she was just 60. So she was still working at the time. She didn't have any of these measures in place at all. And so, it was a bit like she left us with, like, she wouldn't mind me saying this, she would laugh, but she kind of left us with like an M&S bill. And, like she just hadn't thought about any of this. I think you kind of do go through life thinking you're invincible. So I think that's part of the reason why this has sent me into like an anxiety spiral because I'm like, I need to sort all of this out now.
Katie, please could you make sure that you contact her later this evening, check she's okay, and then maybe again tomorrow, just for my peace of mind, to let me know that she's okay.
Yeah, I will. I mean, she's even
Charlotte, we will take this offline. You'll know. I'm going to email you as soon as I get off of this loads of dates for our coffee catch up.
she's even started to scratch her chest. Can you see?
I know. I can see she's got like an anxiety rash coming. Someone give the girl some gin. She'll be fine.
So, Charlotte, I honestly think that this has been just an invaluable conversation that I think people are really, really, really going to benefit from. So thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this has been fab, and I'm really excited for people to hear this and listen to it. We always end the podcast with one lasting question. I think you know what it's going to be. I do, because you've listened to a few podcasts. But aside from, well, it could be financial, it could be, but do you have any advice that you would want to give an expectant equestrian parent out there?
Yeah, sure. Ask for help and take up the help. Like, this is key, whether you are running a business or whether you are just parenting. It's bloody tough. It is really, really bloody tough. And if you don't ask people, you will panic and spiral. Do not Google, phone somebody else. And find the mum friends that resonate with you. So with me, I've got a couple of mum friends who I know are gin swilling, sweary mums. I don't want to be contacting the ones that tell me that I should be only having wooden toys and keeping everything calm. I am not calm at any point.
Charlotte, you have found your mums here.
Yeah, so definitely, lean on other people. WhatsApp people, even if it's in the middle of the night, someone else might be in the same situation as you. So just make sure you lean on people. And if someone offers you help, bloody well take them up on it. Because again, as a British person, someone will say, "Oh, let me help you. Let me have your child for an hour to help you out." And we go, "Oh no, I'll manage." No, managing isn't good enough. We need to have a fun time. Make sure we ride more and worry less. Even more difficult as a parent, but set aside some time to ride, because when you're riding, you're not checking emails. Your subconscious mind, I love Tara Best, like mindset work, I love all that stuff. So the best ideas come to me when I'm riding the horse, because I can't check my emails, I can't be worrying about my child because I'm on the horse, and at the moment having to sit quite still because mine is spicy at the moment. That is the time where you have yourself to think about, and only yourself. So yeah, ride more, worry. This is loads of tips. Ride more, worry less. Take up people for help. And make sure you use them, and just reach out to the mums that you know are like you. If you're looking for advice, reach out to the right people, not the people that are going to fuel your downward spiral into doom, which we can get into sometimes.
I love that advice. Love it. Especially the ride more, worry less. So important. And you're so right. Like when you're on a horse, you do switch off from the outside world, don't you? Like 100%. Either because you're hanging on for dear life, or because you're actually just enjoying it.
Yeah, and it's that time out. You're in nature, everything is just calm. There's a really good like meme thing going around at the moment, reels, which is like loads of noise, and then you get on the horse and it all just goes quiet.
Yeah.
And that is so true. Oh, and turn off email notifications. If you get work email notifications on your phone, turn them off. You do not need notifications on your phone for work emails. Fine for Gmail if there's like fun things coming through, like offers from Holland Cooper. I probably want to read it. But if it's a work email, it's on my vision board. I want a Holland Cooper coat. But work emails, you should not have notifications coming through, because it just gets in your head and it's there 24/7. You don't need it.
Oh my gosh. This has been amazing. Charlotte, thank you so much for all your help and for all your advice on this podcast. If someone wants to find you, where are they going to find you?
Oh, I'm everywhere. So Instagram seems to be where I spend most of my time, mainly because my work Instagram is just full of really buzzy, positive people, and that's really great for me. I love that. So I'm CW Financial Planning on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok for the same thing, but I don't really spend a lot of time on there. I just whack up content and leave it. I'm on Facebook. I also run a rural and equestrian businesses networking, which is like a virtual free networking for any equestrian business owners out there that want to join it. I'm on LinkedIn. I've dabbled in YouTube and got bored and ran off and didn't bother doing any more on that, but mainly Instagram.
Amazing.
On a website.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much again. And listeners, we hope this has been of huge benefit to you, because it certainly has been for us. And I think we both know what we'll be doing this evening. Anyways, we are going to leave you to ruminate on some of Charlotte's advice, and we will see you all on the very next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to another episode from the Equestrian Mums Club. It's been great to have you along for the ride. We've been your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway. Make sure to hit the follow button to hear more from us as we dig deeper into the world of ponies and parenthood. And until next time, stay smiling, safe, and stay sane.